welcome to the WAQ Show. I'm your host, TJ.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
And today we are talking about some gaming, getting into alpha, beta, early access, and
Pre-sales.
having pre-sales and things like that, and how it affects gamers and normal people. And I'll let you take it away, Dan, and your opening thoughts about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna open with the hard-hitting cold truth that we all know and love, and that is games do not have the price tag they should have. They are, as much as you don't want to admit it, AAA games that are good should be sold for more than $60. In most cases. That is not an all-encompassing statement. Which leads us into some of the other factors of like DLC and whether that should be charged for or not. Like in some instances, definitely not. Take Horse Armor, for example, from Skyrim, or not Skyrim, it was Oblivion. That was dumb. You should not have to pay for that. That doesn't affect the game at all. But when it's like, take The Division, for example, recent note applicable to my life. The Division 2 came out, full game, full release, $60. That's what everyone knows. That's what everyone's used to. Cool, $60 worth of content, more or less. Yeah, it's a decent game. And then they came out with an expansion, I guess, recently that extends the game, adds 10 more levels, so on and so forth. They totally should charge for that. That's addition to the game. Like, I think that's totally fine. And that's just kind of the difference between charging for Horse Armor or charging for content. But that's my initial approach and opening for this topic.
I am curious, just to elaborate a little bit, how many levels was the initial Division game, and how much did they charge for the 10 extra levels?
I actually don't know how much the expansion is, but the base game was 30 levels and a full story and a bunch of multiplayer content and stuff like that. So let's see. Division 2 expansion.
Which I agree. Expansions versus DLCs is different, too.
Warlords of New York is like 30-ish bucks, ballpark. So half the cost of the game, which it's only 10 levels from what I understand. However, it is an entirely new map and things like that. So from a comparative perspective, it's not half of the original game, technically speaking. However, from a work invested to create it perspective, I definitely think it's like reasonable.
Yeah, I think
if that makes sense.
I think if you look at it not as, well, I paid $60 for the base game and $30 for the expansion, and the expansion wasn't half the base game, and you instead just look at it as, I paid $90 for 40 levels and multiplayer and all that shit and 2 different maps, I think it looks a lot better.
Yeah, unfortunately, most consumers don't look at it from that perspective is the biggest problem that I think gaming companies run into.
Yeah.
Like, This'll come up a lot. The biggest change I made in the way I view my gaming expenses is I like looking at games in the $1 an hour model. Like, if I pay $60 for a game and I don't get 60 hours out of it, I kind of feel like I didn't get my money's worth. But I changed that recently, like a year ago, to I'm actually investing in the hobby, not in a game. So if I spend $100 on, a variety of gaming, whatever, in a month, and I put 100 hours into gaming, then I have gotten my money's worth. I don't care if I spent $60 on that game that I played for 15 hours and $4 on that game I got on sale and played for, 50 hours.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I really like that differing approach of looking at it kind of in a holistic thing. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing about games, in most cases, i.e. outside of MMOs, is you spend the money, you then have the game for infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like ad infinitum. You have the game.
Like,
So, like, it doesn't matter if you spend, if it becomes $1 an hour in that first week that you bought it, or if it becomes like Terraria for me, where I think I've paid less than a cent per hour of time spent in that game. Darkest Dungeon and RimWorld are the same way. Like, I've put hundreds of hours into those games. Because I have them ad infinitum, I can play them as I want, when I want.
That makes sense.
There's also the... Oops, just hit my mic. There's also the time out of money spent nobody ever thinks about, even beyond the fact that games aren't priced as they should be, is talking about it. I don't feel bad about spending $15 in a movie theater because I'm going to talk with all my fucking friends about this movie and we can like further explore ideas with this shit. I don't feel bad about spending full price on a new game to talk with my friends about the new game, and a lot of new games have co-op, so I kind of feel like I'm getting more than $1 or more than an hour out of an hour's worth of play when I'm playing with my friends.
And that actually brings up another point I definitely wanted to jump to with this, is the parallel between movies and games and the heavy discrepancy there. So I'm not the first person to make this comparison, but I definitely think I'm the first person to, or possibly the first person that some of our listeners have heard, to put it in this light of, you spend, we'll use the $15 price point. You spend $15 for a 2 hours and change experience of a movie. Because movies cost a shit ton of money, so you're paying your piece to support that movie and everyone who was in that movie and part of that movie. Versus, and that's a 2 hour and change experience, and then you talking with your friends is something else you gain for it, ultimately. A video game, we're using the AAA price point of $60. You pay $60 for to have infinite access to that content. Most games, on average, I would say, are at least 8, more often than not 20 plus hours of content enjoyment.
Yep.
Is that
Yeah,
fair?
that's a fair statement.
And at this point, this might be one of the more controversial ones, but I don't think so anymore. At this point, the amount of effort put into making a game, I would argue, is getting equivocal to making a fucking movie.
Oh.
Like, the budgets for some of these games beat out movies. The quality, take the latest Resident Evils, for example. Holy shit, those cutscenes look almost like real life. Like, what the hell? The amount of effort, time, care they put into that's got to be on the level of, like, After Effects movie producers and shit like that.
Well, even certain games have almost live action. Like, they have actors that they bring in.
Like,
and their cutscenes are live action.
The new fucking Baldur's Gate trailer where that guy turns into a fucking mind flayer, I thought that was live action, and because like the beginning of that trailer, he's walking around looking for some shit, and I'm like, oh, live action cutscenes, that's a fucking weird choice. And then he starts morphing, and I'm like, this isn't live action, this is fucking the best CG I've ever fucking seen.
CG in games is next level comparatively.
And I thought you were going to say that we're at the point where games, effort and price point wise, exceed movies. So if you're just saying that they are matching movies, I definitely agree.
They're at least matching movies for effort, price point, and time into development. So the point I'm making is these games will use 20 hours of experience. You're paying $60 for 20 hours of that level and quality of entertainment, because it's entertainment media, versus paying the 15 for 2 hours and change. I understand there's a bit of a fallacy. It's kind of like the buy two, get one free, but I only need one kind of thing. You still buy the two to get the one free because eventually, quote unquote, you use it. Like, so spending the $15 for 2 and change hours because you have 2 and change hours you want to spend on that, that's all fine and good. But comparatively, if you were to be getting 20 hours, that would be like $150.
Yeah. At
the movie's price tier versus the game, which is $60, which is less than half. So everybody who complains about games being $60 and, oh, that's so expensive, and, oh, that's not fair that the new Call of Duty is that it's the same game as last time, blah, 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 all the back-end shit, no, it's not. Someone had to make all those new maps. Someone had to animate all those cutscenes, CG all of that, make sure the guns worked and sounded right, pay the voice actors to do it. It's not the same game. And that's coming from somebody who doesn't really like or give a shit about the Call of Duty franchise. But ultimately, it's actually not the same game. You are getting a whole new experience. So anybody who's complaining that AAA title games that are worth their salt are $60, shut the hell up before they start rising the prices, please.
Yeah, I've been being quiet because I pretty much agree with you guys on everything you're saying. I did want to bring up Call of Duty, though, because that has some interesting... The new one has some interesting features that are... that I don't agree with.
Is the new one the PUBG clone, or is that the last one?
The last
or is that a mode?
one?
That's a mode.
Okay, I don't play any of the Call of Duty games.
He's talking about Warzone.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get into Warzone. Well, so you say it's a PUBG thing, but I think Warzone was out before PUBG. Because...
It was out before battle royales were a popular genre.
Yeah, they were like one of the first ones to do it.
And then they dropped it from like the next couple releases because it wasn't popular, I think. And then World War or DayZ and all the other and Fortnites.
Yeah, they came out.
All you crazy kids with your flossing and whatnot made it popular.
I really like Warzone and I get into it, but this is... It's hard for me to like it for everybody. So Call of Duty, like to get the multiplayer and the story and all that, you have to pay. Which I think it's the 60 or whatever, which is great. Should. Warzone is free for everybody. Yeah.
What?
So you can just have Warzone.
Fuck?
And
Wait,
if you don't own a game?
Yeah, no, you technically would own Call of Duty. I don't know. I guess they just don't let you click into multiplayer and stuff. I wouldn't know because I own it. But yeah, you guys can play Warzone with me. I was trying to get you to do it.
I'm doing the Drake meme real quick. Wait. So, let me get this straight. Full game, you gotta pay for. Warzone, you don't. But... I'm betting it's got loot boxes, right?
Well, no. Yeah, not loot boxes. They have the Battle Pass, which is you unlock... Well, technically there's free points, so you can get the free stuff. Or you just...
Does it or does it not have real-world purchase cosmetics?
Yeah.
And do you get them on an RNG basis?
No.
So you can buy specifically the pieces you want.
You can buy what you want, or you can buy the Battle Pass, and as you level up, you unlock. So say you bought the Battle Pass and then didn't play, they still get their money and you get nothing. And it ends when the season ends, so you have a limited amount of time to unlock all the things.
Yeah, that's a subscription service.
It is, yeah, but if you don't make it to the end by the end of the season, then you lose out.
Do you lose all the stuff?
I believe so, unless...
Like the stuff that you already got?
No, not the stuff you already got.
Well, yeah, that's just a subscription service. If I pay for Netflix and don't watch Netflix, that's my own damn fault.
Yeah. So we're not shitting on it.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting that you can participate in the game in some way, shape, or form without actually buying the game. I think that's an interesting approach. But ultimately, the reason they made it free is because they have other ways of making money off of that specific game mode.
Yeah.
Like they're not just gonna make it free.
And they constantly update it and everything. Like they're really active with it, which is cool. And I think they're kind of.
Well, I mean, if you
go ahead.
If you're making a competitive or online integrated game, you have to keep updating it now or it's going to die. So that should be expected.
Yeah. I fully agree. It just kind of part of me doesn't like it because of the ones who paid for it. Like kind of, I mean, obviously you get it because it's free, but I don't know. I have a little bit mixed emotions to it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you might want to keep in mind is the fact that it does have free access to that game mode means your player base is way bigger.
Yeah.
Like that's a positive thing from it. So maybe keep that in mind. That might make you feel a little bit better.
Actually, here's where a small part of the problem comes in. Now this isn't all just like I'm oversimplifying what this problem is, but in the paid part, the multiplayer and stuff, there's not really any issues with cheaters. In the free, and what Warzone is, they've had major issues with cheating. And what increases it even more, and what sucks, is it's one of the few games that's cross-play, so Xbox, PlayStation, and computer all can play together. Really cool. And the majority of the cheaters are computer people. So Xbox and PlayStation people are trying to petition they get rid of the computer people being able to cross-play.
Are you sure it doesn't just feel like they're cheating because mouse and keyboard is more accurate?
Oh, no. It's people cheat. Like, I watched this video, this guy, he had like 30-some kills or more, and he was shooting people across the map you couldn't see. He was shooting through walls. Like, he was dead.
Yeah.
I think it was Ninja had found him because he was in the same Warzone game, and because you can spectate after you die and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's crazy.
Well, interesting model, but
yeah.
I definitely want to jump back to the original kind of spread of the topic, unless you have anything else you wanted to add on that.
No, that was kind of it for me.
I want to jump back to the early access alpha beta testing stuff. And I definitely think it's kind of like our last episode where we talked about action versus intent. I think alter that a little bit to implementation versus intent. Like, if you implement your early access or your alpha or beta testing well, then it's not a bad thing. But if you do it like shittily, like, hey, everything's wireframe, but you want to start giving me money so I can keep making this game, and I'll let you like fuck around in the wireframe world I made. Like, that's dookie poo poo garbage, you know? Versus you get these companies like Clay Entertainment. Holy shit, call me a fanboy, I don't care. They released their latest game, Griftlands, in its alpha state, and that bitch looks like a finished game with like full fucking content. Holy shit, it's so good. And, depending on, this probably won't be going on by the time this episode releases, but you can get the game for $5 and you get 2 copies of the game. I'm not sponsored at all. Go buy this goddamn game. It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
It's in alpha right now. It feels like a complete game. And they're going to be adding more. They have a roadmap. Like, that is how you do. And one thing it's not an alpha or a beta test. There's a very clear difference between an early access game and alpha beta testing, which I'll get into right now. It is definitely an early access game. An early access game is selling a game before it is complete and giving you access while the publisher, the producer, developer, or whatever, is still finishing the game. That's early access. Alpha and beta testing is Valorant right now, to use another name drop from Riot Games, which is basically their CSGO Overwatch hybrid clone. And they're doing alpha and beta testing because they're not charging people for access to the game, and they're also cutting off access at some point. They're simply giving access to specific people who apply for it so they can test the game out, give feedback, and then they lose access to the game. That's the main difference. Which, I know TJ's got some opinions on the Valorant alpha beta going on right now.
Yeah, I do. I am so upset about that because I want it in so bad. And
yeah, which I actually have some counterpoints to that. So if you want to go into your frustrations, or if Matt has some stuff he wants to drop real
I just
quick.
wanted to make the small comment that if you do release your alpha access, early access, whichever one this falls under, thing, and it's just like the wireframe game, and you're like, hey guys, if you want to check out what I've got so far so you can support me making this fucking game, because I really realistically can't do it without some financial backing. As long as you're upfront about that, it falls back to my, well, yeah, if you know what you're getting into and you pay for Netflix and you don't watch all of, The Office before it's gone or before your subscription's out, that's your own fucking fault. As long as they're honest, as long as he's like, hey guys, if you guys don't support me, I can't keep making this game. Currently it's only wireframe, but you can pay for early access right now. As long as that's the case, then it's fine. But it's the cases where, two cases. It's the cases where people aren't honest about what you're getting for a game. They're just like, hey, this is my early access game. They don't say anything. And you just buy into it and you're like, this is barely a game. Or it's the instances where, this is one, like, if you play games that are piloted and released on Patreon, this is a very common one. Clearly they're making slower progress than they should be making with the money they're getting because they want to keep milking the money. That one is infuriating. Where it's like, you're getting like 10,000 a month, you should be able to make more progress than maybe a 0.1 patch update every month. Maybe.
One of the other things too is when it comes to early access like that, I totally agree with if you're open and honest about the state of the game and the speed of your likely progress, I think that's really good. You should always strive to do that. But it's ultimately always a risk for the consumer because there's no guarantee, like you're not making any promises that you're ever going to finish the damn game. Yeah. There have been multiple games that are early access on Steam and then they're just abandoned. So with that, I'd also add the caveat of a healthy thing for game devs to do is at various points in the early access life of a game, adjust the price. So if you sell the wireframe version of the game as early access and let people snatch it, it's $5.
Yeah.
As you add to the game in phase 2, when everything's textured but there's no voice acting and some of the mechanics aren't fleshed out yet, up it to $10. So that way, if someone buys the game at any given point, they're only paying for exactly what they get. That way, if you ever drop the game, they can't shit on your product.
Yeah. Didn't Ark do that?
You're like, I think so, yeah. Another great example is RimWorld. RimWorld, when I bought it years and years and years ago, I bought it for I think like $10 or $15. It's now on Steam for like $30 because it's a full finished game. Whereas I bought it in like patch 7 alpha, 0.7 alpha or something like that, or 0.5 alpha. So I think that's a healthy approach as well, because then people can always at least say, well, I got exactly what I paid for. And if you finish the game, then they can go, I love this company because I got a $60 release for $10 because I bought in super early and took a risk, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But jumping to alpha beta testing, which is where we were heading to with the Valorant example, TJ, if you want to express your frustration, and then I have some counterpoints to offer.
So, I can imagine some of your counterpoints, but it still makes me mad. So for me, I've been a part of alphas and betas, and I get feedback and stuff like that. And back when I was at those, it was random. Like you send them an email, or they have a system where you submit like, I would like to be a part of this. And they give you a key or several keys so you can give it to a couple of your friends and you guys can play together or test it out and stuff like that. And it's on that feedback basis and stuff like that. Or even if it's buy-in to it, that's cool too. What Valorant did, and what makes me so mad, is they made it seem like that and then had it so you had to watch 20 hours of someone streaming it, the beta, and then you still had an iffy chance of making it in and stuff like that. So I don't like when they force you to do things to get the beta key. I would rather it be that random. I'm okay. If I don't get selected, then that's cool too. It doesn't bother me. But to force someone to watch it to get the beta, I'm not okay with, kind of, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get that's a little bit weird, and also one of the big concerning things about that to me is how the fuck do they know you've watched 20 hours kind of thing?
Yeah.
If it's like you have to go to this web page and watch our featured streamer playing it, then that makes sense. That's fine.
It's specifically through
I feel like
Twitch.
that's a little worse.
It's specifically through Twitch. They had their setup, so you had to watch Twitch streams of people playing Valorant.
Oh, so
they have a deal with
they probably
Twitch
had
Prime and
some
stuff.
kind of code on the Twitch channels that were streaming it, and they could register. I mean, that's just IP tracking. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Like, why would that be worse, Matt?
I specifically meant like if they control who you watch on the webpage you watch.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I could see that being a little bit of an issue.
Hey, go watch our fucking puppet pump you full of exactly the knowledge we want you to have before going into this game so you're in the right mindset. Fuck that. If I can just watch anybody playtest it on fucking Twitch, specifically if I can go like watch one of my preferred people and somebody I fucking trust, like if Sips was going to stream
that is the case.
Yeah, if Sips was going to stream it, I would expect Sips to tear it up and not be a fucking shill.
Yeah, and that is the case with Valorant from what TJ was saying. So just so people aren't like, well, they fucking blah, blah, like, and we're not even qualified to talk about it in the first place. Yeah. So anyway, I get your frustration with that, but at the same time, in the world we exist in today, getting someone to buy into it by watching for 20 hours first, if you want it that bad, you're probably going to have a decent time enjoying the content. And that's actually a great way for them to simultaneously support social marketing and advertising for their game and streamers that also support them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Like,
I didn't even think about that. That is a great feedback loop, actually. I don't know if I'd say 20 hours should be necessary.
20 hours is a lot to have to watch.
That's almost a day of your life spent just watching them doing that. That might be a little excessive.
And think about how long it's in beta for, because that's beta form. It's only been around a few months. That's a lot to try to fit in and then go and play it.
Yeah, and I mean, the other issue with that, too, that I could see playing devil's advocate for my own point is it's going to be kind of like the Overwatch scenario where the early access or the beta or the alpha is running for so long and they opened so many different windows for it. By the time it actually releases to live, it feels like you've had the game the whole time and it doesn't feel fresh and new when it's supposed to. It's like, oh yeah, no, the game's been around forever. What do you mean it just released?
Here's another counterpoint, and I don't really know how to fix this, and it's a problem. It's the reason I don't get into online games. If I don't want to be in the beta or the alpha, which I shouldn't have to want to do to play a game, and then I get in at release, I'm going to be demolished by all the fucking people that have been sinking all of their free time into this fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't...
Yeah, for competitive games.
And that's a competitive one.
Yeah. And I'm... For those type of games, I'm willing to let that be the case for somebody that gets in a year or two after the game's release. But if I start playing the game at release, I shouldn't have to feel that way.
Yeah. Now here's one that plays in. I'm gonna say a couple things, but this will play into that. Is when they release, which it releases June 2nd now, supposedly, if it goes on schedule. They're resetting everyone to 0, which means they will be on the same playing field.
They have all sorts of skills that they've learned. The maps, there's all sorts of stuff you can't quantify that they have.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's getting at.
Now
their account will register.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, their account will have the same matchmaking rating as someone that didn't play anything in the betas.
Yeah. Basically, force smurfing all the betas.
Yeah, so I'd rather beta people getting a jump start. Honestly,
I would rather beta people have a fucking tag. That's a beta guy.
Or something like that, yeah.
He's been here forever.
Yeah, that would run into
other issues.
The reverse issue.
Yeah, that's a social hierarchy
everybody.
thing.
Well, that and everybody literally targeting the shit out of a beta player because they know they've got an advantage.
Also,
which at that point, if enough guns are pointed at you, it doesn't matter how
that's
big
fair.
you are.
Also, to be in that beta means you're probably a streamer, so that would target streamers out. I don't know if that'd be an issue or not, but for them specifically.
See, that's what I thought your complaint was going to be, is they only let streamers, like popular streamers, into the alpha beta.
I mean, they kind of did.
I mean,
of course they
it's
did.
marketing.
And here's what frustrates me more, and this is, I'm probably not exactly justified to make this, or to think on this level, but it's a free game. And I would be more okay with them doing that if it was a pay to play, because it would make more sense to me for the streaming. I don't know. It just, like, instinctually, I'm like,
fair.
if it's pay to play, they want their streamers, they want to make that money for people to make. But for a free game, I don't know. Riot does things weird, and we've had our ups and downs of thoughts with Riot and how they do things.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, not only is it like smart marketing wise, just imagine if you only give it out to big streamers, how many eyes you have on one screen at one time, how many more people can catch something just from one beta pass released.
Yeah.
From a feedback point, that's great. And then one of the other things to consider too is, I don't know about y'all, but we'll use Sips as an example. When Sips plays a game that I'm even vaguely interested in, my desire to go buy that game and play it right the fuck then while watching him play it skyrockets for some reason. Like, I don't know, something about watching somebody play a game that I was kind of vaguely interested in makes me really want to go play it because they're playing it and I can, like, side by side with their video or something.
And I'm sure go ahead.
It's like inexplicable. I don't know what the phenomenon is, but holy shit, does it
that's probably
exist.
why the way they did it is for that. And I'm sure I'm a minority in this thought right here, but I'm more of a doer, and I really don't watch streams. So
I'm in the middle.
It's hard for me to go, like, to get that beta access I really wanted, because it looks like a lot of fun.
No, I'm a VOD goblin. I'll watch shit on YouTube. I'm trying to convince myself to watch more live stuff on Twitch, because that's how you develop community ties and things like that, is being in those. So trying to do that more. And
my thing is, I just don't have the time. It's why, same thing, I don't play MMOs. I don't have the time to sit down and do it.
I mean, I'll also point out, I'm not sitting there just watching the stream. I'm doing other shit while I've got the stream up.
Yep. That's what I do when I watch Megabit's stream. Hey.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I had this other thought. And any of our listeners who have venture capital, if you decide to start this as your business, go ahead and email waqshow@gmail.com, and I will totally buy in as a shareholder. Instead of companies making and developing their own alpha beta servers and bringing people onto that, there should be a company that other businesses as well as gamers can make accounts on. So you've got the business side that has an account on your alpha beta hosting company's platform, and then you have people who want to opt into these alphas and betas for games making consumer accounts on your alpha beta platform.
That would be cool.
And your servers host whatever alpha beta the companies want to run, and you blast out and market those alphas and betas to all of the consumers who can then opt in, because then you solve the problem that TJ's having as a consumer of, I always give really great feedback. I love playing in alphas and betas. I'll put hours into it if I like the game, and I want to make the game better. Their account can have a record of the number of times they've given feedback, the quality of the feedback, and you as the company can be like, thumbs up, I like this piece of feedback. We actually implemented your feedback into the game. And then companies can give preference to alphas and betas to people who actually fucking contribute to improving the game, instead of just shitting out loads of alpha beta donations to random people that are just going to play the game and provide absolutely no feedback.
That's a great idea.
So then the consumer has the ability to increase their likelihood of getting into alphas and betas by being a good alpha and beta tester. And the companies can waste less of their time, money, and resources until the game's actually ready to launch because they don't have to prep servers. They can just run it on.
And if you're trying to think of a name for it, I think a good name would be Omega.
Alpha, Beta, Omega.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to steal that idea and make it a thing, just email us so we can be, shareholders.
Yeah.
Or Gamma.
Yeah, I'll be down.
Gamma Games.
Ooh.
Gamma Games? Yeah, that'd be good.
GG.
GG.
I like it.
If nobody else has an offshoot to that, I did kind of want to...
I do
Go for
have
it.
one little thing.
Okay.
That, since I was hating on Riot, one thing that I do really like that they do with League of Legends is they have the beta server. And I can't remember what it's called right now. But because they're constantly patching and all that stuff. So they put a lot of patches on that ahead of time for people to test out to make sure they work properly before they implement
grounds?
it. Yeah, before they implement it into the actual game. No.
I know what you mean. It's got a name where you can test champion reworks.
The
and stuff.
PvE server.
So the public beta, which you have to sign up and get into, which I am. I feel like PvE people should have had early access to Valorant too, but that's whatever. Yeah, because then you're able to test out patches and stuff for games that do that kind of thing. I think that's a good idea because I don't think a lot of games do that. Maybe they do. But yeah, that's all.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of, like we did earlier, kind of bring it back a little bit to the initial topics. We've talked a lot about alpha and beta and early access. We haven't talked about pre-sales. I want to know how you guys feel about pre-sales, because personally, I think it makes a lot of sense for anything but a AAA title. But also, I feel like anything but a AAA title would tend to do early access or alpha and beta as opposed to pre-sale.
Or like Call of Duty did or Resident Evil. Like a lot of times I get the pre-sales, you get like little additions like cosmetic things. If you order.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Early.
You get bonus shit with the pre-sale.
Yeah, so when you say pre-sale, that just means like you can buy it early.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
I think it's a good thing for one reason, and not all pre-sales do this, but they really should, because this is what makes a pre-sale more useful mechanically, is when you can pre-purchase the game as the consumer and download the files.
Yes.
So they're ready to go.
Oh, that would be nice.
They let you download everything but the one file the game needs to run, basically, or whatever.
The key or whatever.
That way their server on launch, since all games are basically digital now anyway instead of physical disc, doesn't get bombarded as hard because you've got 20% of your dedicated fan base that pre-purchased. And they've already got the game ready to go short of the one file. So your server's getting pinged for one file download instead of the 40 gig game download that the other 80% of this your public is doing.
I agree with that.
That's what makes pre-sales mechanically valuable, and that's what should be happening with a pre-sale.
I agree with.
Also,
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I would say I agree with that, especially in today's world. Of course, that's how it is. But I'm gonna take it back into being the console guy, and why pre-sales were important. Pre-sales were you were able to get the game so that when you show up on the day of release, you actually get the game because they don't sell out for the bigger titles. So that was a big deal back in the day when you had to go to GameStop or whatever to get the game.
Yeah, I feel like initially pre-sales were important for brick and mortar game sales because then they know how much to order. If you pre-sale like 3 months in advance, they're like, all right, well, we have copies for all our pre-sales and, I don't know, an extra 20% or something. I also think that pre-sales that come with more shit, realistically what they're doing is they're like, you get the Pip-Boy edition of Fallout 4 and it's $200. Realistically, that Pip-Boy did not cost an extra $140 to make. What they're actually doing is they're actually making the game cost what it's fucking worth and also giving you some extra shit. And they give you extra shit so you pay more, which I completely think is fair, because like we keep saying, games don't cost what they should. So I like pre-sales, at least for AAA games, where they can do that, where they can make the game cost what it's worth. and they can, like Dan was saying, they can get all the server space worked out, and they can let you download it early, and all that shit.
Yeah, and I didn't even consider the price point raising on certain pre-sale stuff, like the collector's editions and things like that, which I've never really had an issue with because you're getting more stuff if you pay more money. Like, that just makes sense to me from a capitalist consumer standpoint. It's like, if I'm giving you more money, I should get more than the guy who's giving you less money, and you do. I think connecting the two dots that we've just created here, pre-downloading the game on a pre-purchase would mean you have more readily available time to play the game when it officially launches, because you're only spending 5 minutes downloading the one file instead of the hour to download the 40 gigs, which that in and of itself, I think is worth another $5 or $10. Because that means I have another hour or two I get to play the game. And tying that into the other point, when it's a competitive game, that's huge. I get to see the maps that weren't released in the alpha and beta for an hour or two before the general public does, because I paid an extra $5 to $10 to pre-purchase. If I'm actually planning to play a game competitively, that's huge in the first month of gameplay. I have an extra hour or two of experience than everybody else because I spent $5 to $10 more. I think that makes a lot of sense, and that should be valuable in and of itself, but I guarantee you general consumers would not even consider that and would bitch about there being a price hike on pre-purchase.
I'm trying to think of pre-purchase. Most of the pre-purchases I have are just the same amount that the game is, and I still have had extra stuff.
Or it comes with extra shit.
Yeah, it comes with extra stuff, but it's the same price.
I do also want to throw out that I'm very happy it's already been established that the quote-unquote extra shit, as we're calling it for pre-purchases, is completely cosmetic. Yeah. I think it would be awful if you're playing a game like, let's say The Witcher 3 or something had a pre-purchase thing, but the thing you got for pre-purchasing was an extra multi-mission long side story for the campaign that you can only get when you pre-purchase it, and nobody else gets it after the pre-purchase window is closed.
That would be terrible.
That would feel so shitty.
Yeah.
Like, you get a better story than I do because you bought it early? Like, what the fuck? So I'm so glad that was never really an issue in the gaming scene. It's like, everybody knew immediately, if you do pre-purchase stuff, it shouldn't impact the gameplay experience. It should just be cosmetic free shit. And I think that's cool.
I think my favorite pre-purchase ever was the first Halo I got at release, which was Halo Reach. And I got the Legendary Edition, which was, I think it was like $200, but I got the statue. It came in a really cool box, like the box itself that it came in I still have because it's really sweet. And then it has a journal, which is a character's like journal, and it ties into the book series and all that too. And just the statue and all that, it's super cool. And the case that the journal comes in is badass.
Speaking of like gaming and cases, you as a console player would love this. You've probably seen some before, but when I was getting ready to go to Afghanistan, at the PX, they would have these, basically they were like heavy duty durable cases that had a TV screen, a space for your console, your controllers, and a couple games. And it was like a Pelican case quality thing. You could smash it around and everything would be fine. That'd be inside. Amazing. It was just a portable console station. I think
I love it already.
I think you'd love it. Yeah, it was really cool.
Really cool. That was one of the coolest things about an old system was GameCube. And
the cube
with the handle.
The handle, but they made a screen that you could plug into the GameCube that just flipped up off the top. And that was your monitor for it. You didn't have to have, because me and my buddy played in school a couple times when we were allowed to.
Dude,
where you just brought the cube.
They had the idea for the Switch back in the GameCube days. Holy shit.
Nintendo's always been ahead of the fucking curve.
We would play Super Smash Brothers in school and stuff just with that. Oh, it's so sweet.
School is for learning, not games. Jeez.
Is it?
When they allow it.
Is it?
School is just a big game. What are you talking about? I don't know.
Kinda. You take tests and get points and shit. Grind your fucking stats.
Is graduating the meta achievement for earning all the other achievements?
Yeah. You know, that's the alpha beta I didn't want to get into either.
Summer school is the free DLC.
It's not always free.
True.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You guys have any other thoughts on pre-purchases and all that stuff?
Probably, but I think we've already ran pretty long on the topic. Maybe we'll do another episode down the road.
I'm sure we'll
have more fodder.
I'm sure we'll have more to say.
The next time we can do a more targeted strike on, I don't know, if somebody has a game that goes particularly well or particularly poorly. Well, actually, we had Griftlands this time. Next time we can, I don't know. You know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, I could go another hour talking about how amazing Griftlands is as an early access example, if we want to. But I think a 2-hour podcast might be a bit much.
Yeah.
For now, I think so.
I will say, it's not 100% the reason why, but they lost me as a person who's going to play Valorant. Because of how mad
they lost me. That sucks. They lost me when I saw that it was basically CSGO, and I'm like, I don't have the time or skills to invest into that.
Yeah.
They lost me when it was Riot Games.
Yeah, that's another time. That could be a whole episode, Riot Games.
I mean, do we stop at Riot Games, or do we go all the way to Tencent Games? Because that's... I'm ready for that.
What's Tencent Games?
Tencent is the company that owns Riot. It is a Chinese gaming company.
I didn't know they were owned by somebody.
It is a company that sued itself. It is fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah, this sounds like a fun episode. Okay, so little hinting at some future episodes you guys will hear from us. But that's it.
Anyway.
Remember to email us if any of you start that idea for the company that Dan.
Alpha Beta server host.
And any final thoughts, Matt?
Nope.
All right. That's it for this episode of the WAQ Show. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, TJ.
He's Matt.
That's Dan.
And that's the WAQ Show.